Marriage takes a little bit of sacrifice. And I think if you're not willing to sacrifice certain things here and there, then marriage is not really for you. Because, like even like God sacrificed his son because he loved us so much that he gave his only son for us. And it's the same thing with like when you're in a marriage, it's like there's parts of you that sometimes you need to sacrifice for love. And only you know how much and only you know what parts, but there is a sense of sacrifice that needs to be involved in a marriage. And I think a lot of the times now we don't do that. And that's one of the reasons why we're failing at that, is because we just think of ourselves. And when we start to look at the other and what can I do for you and how can I love you and how can I better serve you, then everything will start to shift.
Welcome to the God, Money, and Sex podcast. My name is Raul Velasquez, and I'm here with my beautiful queen,
Vivian Velasquez. So excited to be here with you, my love.
You look beautiful today.
Thank
beautiful
you.
Today. I was telling you that when you came in, I thought you had it was a pajamas, a lingerie type of top that you have there.
I know. This is the new thing, I guess, like silk camis.
I love that.
They look like
PJs,
but they're not.
I thought I was overdressed coming to the podcast. I thought maybe I had to come in with my pajamas or something.
Oh, we can have a pajama day if you want, like the kids do.
I kind of sleep very, very, very bundled up.
Oh, okay, fine.
I sleep bundled up. All right, so great. We have a great show for you today. We have a great podcast. And if you're watching us through Instagram, you're watching us through Facebook, you're watching us through YouTube, just please leave a comment. Let us know where you're watching us from. We'd love to interact. We'd love to know where our audience is coming from. And if you have any questions that we could address in the show, we'll address them. We'll wait until next week to address some of the questions. We get tons of questions every single week. So we pick the best ones or the ones that continue to repeat themselves, and we'll answer them today through this podcast.
Yes, and then also if you are shy to ask the questions, I know that happens for a lot of people. That's okay. I think that, you could reach Raul and I and send us a private message. There's a lot of people that I've talked to not in front of social media, and I think that's probably one of the best ways too. So we're always able to, we're always here for you.
This show
really
is to bring you value. This show is to help you level up in your marriage, level up in your business, level up in your purpose, because that's what God, Money, and Sex is for us, is purpose, passion, production. It's just a cool way to say all those things is God, money, and sex.
That's right.
All right, so what's the question? What's the question for today? Let's get to the content.
So this is one of the biggest things that kept coming up, and maybe not necessarily just even in our podcast, but like questions that kept coming up. Is marriage for everyone? And I know like now we live in this era that question keeps coming up. Is marriage for everyone?
Especially with divorce rates being so high. I think it's now like 55% divorce rate.
It keeps going up.
And it keeps going up and up to the point that is, it's a valid question. I mean,
and here's another thing. It's not only not going up. Like people are not wanting to go through the marriage, have a marriage, go through the proposal, go through all these things. They just don't want to be married. They don't want to go through that. So I know like a lot of things are shifting, and I mean, there's so much change now in the world. So I think if we could bring some light into like what marriage is, what has happened in our marriage and our perspective, and maybe bring a little light to like what is marriage, then maybe you, the listeners out there, if you have any insights, please chime in.
So I think marriage for me is the way that the culture creates that perception of what marriage should be, is where I believe most people take it the wrong way, in a way of shit, I'm gonna get married now, like I can't, I feel like I'm being put in a box. I feel like I can't do certain things. We were boyfriend and girlfriend. I have my freedom, especially for guys. At the beginning when you and I were dating, people told us, should get married. And I was like, hell no, I don't want to get married yet. I'm still young. I still have so many things to do, because we have that box that the culture puts marriage in. And look at the way that people joke around when a guy gets married, his balls are given to the wife, or he has the shackle, right? The shackle that he's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So I think that we have to start changing the mindset of what marriage is, and start looking at the word marriage as from a perspective of what is it that you want marriage to look like? Not what the culture is telling you what marriage is, not what your parents' marriage was. It's more of what is it that you want your marriage to look like? Because if you start looking at the feedback and the patterns, like most marriages are not even happy. A lot of people that are married doesn't just because you're married doesn't guarantee that you're gonna be happy, and just because you're single doesn't guarantee you that you're gonna be happy, because most people think that the grass is greener on the other side anyways.
I know, but here's the thing that happens. I feel like when we are getting ready to get married, like then that's when we start looking for classes, or like I know what happened for us. Like we were going to get married and we got married really young. And I feel like there's you take a class or you take some sort of education right before you're going to get married. And there is not enough education. Maybe nowadays there's a little bit more than there was in the past, but there's not enough education when it comes to sex, when it comes to marriage, when it comes to parenting. There's really like people don't really talk about the things that really happen like behind closed doors. And I know it's something like it's different for everyone, but I think if we could start to give light to like the things that really could happen, that will happen in marriage, then it could give you a different perspective. I know that's how I am with younger, especially younger kids that are going to get married. I'm like, think about this. Like it's a decision that will change your life. And I love marriage. I'm all for it. I don't think marriage is for everyone, but I do think that marriage is beautiful and there's so much rewards to it if we are conscious enough of what we're stepping into.
I think that's what you hit it right there in the nail, which is conscious enough what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
I look at marriage as anything else. Like nothing worth having in life is going to be easy. You start a business. People, is business for everyone?
No.
Having a business is not for everyone. Going to college is not for everyone.
Yeah.
Those are the things that what works for certain people not necessarily going to work for you. You have to start finding your own truth.
Yep.
And I think that one of the reasons that our marriage is working is because we are finding our truth. You're not imposing your truth on me. I'm not imposing my truth on you. Both of us have done the work in ourselves that we are finding our own truth and we're sticking to our truth. And when we don't agree on anything, we actually respect each other to the point that, okay, I still love you as long as you have your point of view, and you still love me as long as I have my point of view. Before, when we started in this journey, it was more like, I want you to be this way, or you wanted me to be a certain way. And I think that's what marriage fails, when you want to change that person. That is you get into the marriage with hopes that he's gonna change one day or she's gonna change one day, and let me tell you,
the way that
if you're a man or you're a woman, it hasn't changed by now, the chances are that they're not gonna change. So if you can love them the way they are, then that's something for you to ask yourself, like, do I want to be with this person? I tell my guys, like, if you could love your woman, because I get a lot of this question, Raul, man, that woman's driving me crazy. You understand, like, I'm doing all these things, I'm doing the fucking work, and, she's just constantly throwing me that. I said, if you can hold the space for her, even in her craziness, if you're not willing to fight that battle, then what the fuck are you doing with her? And that, if you're not willing to break that wall, break that pattern and fight that war, like, then you're not meant for it. Just like in business, if you're not willing to go all in your business, if you're not willing to fight the battles and hit the storms, then that business wasn't meant for you.
Yes. And I think that kind of brings me to the point number one that I jot down. We are not mature enough when we get into the marriage. And mature enough, I mean, like, we're not emotionally mature enough, because I know, like, just remembering back, it's like we got married when we were really young. We got married when we were 21 years old. And God, there was so many times that I was like ready to like walk out, because it's like, this is not for me. Like there's too much for me to handle. But then like now looking back, it's like I was not emotionally mature to handle what was happening in our marriage. And I wasn't mature enough to handle myself. Nevertheless, how can I try to handle someone else that came into my life? This person being you, my love. But so then this battle happens of like, we can't take care of ourselves, then we got to take care of somebody else. We're not mature spiritually enough because we didn't know God's promises. We didn't know everything that, that he says. But I know in one of the verses in Matthew, I think it's like Matthew 19 or something like that. And don't quote me on that because I'm not very good at the Bible, but I know it's there. And it tells you, like, God says something about like, are you mature enough to come into this marriage and be ready for all that marriage has to offer? And God is this God of like so much wisdom that he's telling us, like, there is so much marriage has to offer. And at the same time, like, get ready for it. Are you mature enough to come and to be in this place? Are you mature to make that decision and say like, yes, the same way that are we mature enough to get baptized? Sometimes I feel like, like especially for me, like when I got baptized in our church, it's like, it was just like that rush, like those butterflies that you feel like, yes, the Holy Spirit's touching me, so I'm going to jump into it. But I wish I would have, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like this battle, right? But I jumped into it, but was I mature enough to really know what living with God was? And maybe at that point I wasn't, because I still wanted to party and I still wanted to do all this stuff, and I was not mature enough.
I mean, it's as you're saying that, I could look at so many patterns. Like the same thing. We're going to church because we want to be saved.
Yeah.
We go into marriage because we want somebody to complete us. We
Yeah.
want to create a business because we want to have freedom. And all these things, realization, like, at least for me, is like we go into this commitments because that's what marriage is. That's what
Yes, it's a
business
huge
is.
commitment.
That's what, going to church and finding God is really commitment. Are you mature enough to commit?
Yes.
Because the moment that you commit to start a business and you put in your seed money in it, like, chances are you're going to take a risk. If you're not committed, you're going to lose that, and then you're going to blame everyone else.
Yeah.
If you're not committed to see the marriage through, or at least to grow with that person and get to love that person and get to know what you want out of the relationship, then you're going to just walk away. And same thing, if you're waiting for
Yeah.
God to save you, I mean, I could say so many things, about how we go into this relationship with God expecting for him to save us, expecting for him to do the work for us, but we're not willing to commit to ourselves to do the shit that we need to do in order for us to get to that connection. And I think marriage, another word, if you take the word marriage out, is commitment.
Yes.
So if you forget about what people think about marriage, forget about what your parents said about marriage, whatever the church said about marriage, why don't you switch that word marriage to commitment? It's commitment for everyone.
Yeah.
It's commitment for everyone. Is everyone committed?
Yes. And it's a conscious commitment. And then when you are in this marriage, and this is another thing like that happened between the two of us, it was like, okay, we are committed to be in this marriage. And it was a decision that we both take. And there's so much that happens in the marriage. And I think a lot of the times when we are in this committed relationship, we're not able to find forgiveness. And forgiveness is a huge thing that you need to have if you are going to be in a marriage, because there were so many times that I had to forgive you, or you had to forgive me for like my failures. And I know that you were talking about this earlier in your other podcast. It's like, in a marriage, you're going to fail. And I think that's like this misperception that we have, like we're in the marriage and everything's going to work out. No, it's not. Like there has to be, you will fail, but do you have this grace to be able to forgive each other? And not just one time, but over and over and over again.
That's what commitment is. And if you're not committed,
Yeah.
so if you're not committed to that person, or that person's not, so because it goes both ways. I see many marriages fail, and I coach a lot of guys who are going through it right now, and I look at it as I'm committed
Yes.
to help myself to find happiness. So because I'm committed to find the happiness within myself, then allows me to exude that and help other people around me. So if your partner is not in the same page as committed to find that happiness, then you're going to have a crash. Because two people going different ways, getting in the same car, never going to end up in the destination they both want.
That's a war in there.
So there's a war, there's like fighting, there's like you take left, they want to take the wheel. But if two people get in the car and they said, okay, we are committed.
Where are we
We're
going?
gonna go this way.
Yeah.
And yeah, we might hit a couple bumps on the road, but you know what?
Yes.
I'm gonna give you some shit, but I know that we're in the car together.
Yeah.
I might, tell you go this, and you might get lost, you might get off track.
Yes.
But as long as both of you are in the car and you're committed both to find the path, then it's eventually gonna get there if you want to work it out. But if somebody's fighting in the car and you want to go west, she wants to go east, then you have to make a choice. And that's what I believe marriage is. The word marriage or commitment. I believe that people need to start being committed to themselves and their own happiness. And then if you truly are committed to your happiness, you're not waiting for your wife to complete you or your husband to complete you.
Yeah.
Then you ask the question like, who am I with this person, with other person?
Yeah.
Because I am an advocate for love, for passion, for fulfillment. I don't want to see people in a marriage that is they're just there for their kids or for convenience. A man that stays, I honor all the men that are fighting the war out there, all the women who are fighting the war, but at the same time, your kids and your family is only going to be happy if you're happy.
And you deserve to be happy. I think once you understand, like, your happiness will bring happiness to the people around you, then all of that starts to change. Now, another thing, talking about happiness, which is happiness in sex, that's another, I guess, issue why, people get married, why marriage is not for everyone, is like nowadays, it's like you think that you're going to get married and you are with just one person. You have a monogamous relationship, right? And some people are not able to have those relationships because they want to sleep around and they want to like do all these other things. But how can you not have that in your marriage? And that's something that we have in our marriage. Like, not that we're sleeping around. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is like you could innovate.
Well, I do have multiple girlfriends. Full disclosure. Vivian has multiple versions of herself. She has multiple personalities. So I'm lucky that I get to sleep with multiple women, but at the same time, be with the same woman at the same time. So I think that's the part too, is like giving yourself permission to find the different versions of each other that you could fulfill that fantasy with the same person, but at the same time innovate. I think that's the whole topic
really
about marriage and sex and how to continue to have the spark going is really giving yourself the permission to say, okay, we're in the same fucking car. If we're committed, okay, let's figure out how we're gonna survive in this car to get to that place.
Yes, and you have to take control of that, like that yourself, because if we've had a great sex in our marriage, is not because I left it up to you. Like it's funny because I say this in my incantations in the morning. It's like my marriage will be a passionate relationship, and every time I say that, I'm like, I have to take control of that. Like there's a part of me that has to innovate, that has to look for a better sex education, that has to look for like more ways to become better at the things that we want to do together, or maybe something that I want to do. I can't just leave it all up to you. It's not all up to just the other person. It's up to you to make the change.
In order for that to happen, you have to have communication. You have to be open. You have to be, I guess you have to trust each other.
You have to feel safe.
That's where you and I started to shift when we were married probably maybe 14, 13 years before we started to talk about sex in a deeper level, not just having sex, but okay, what does sex look like?
Not just having sex because we had to, because we're married, and
I know it was good. I mean, it was good for me. I don't know if it was. I mean, I can't say nothing bad about our sex life the first 10 years. I could say it's been better in the last 7 years that we worked on it, but at the end of the day is having that trust of saying, okay, here's what I want in my sex. Here's my fantasies. And we still have a lot of work to do.
Yes.
You and I, we're not there yet. We're still working and chipping away the conditioning, because that's what it is, conditioning.
Yes.
Conditioning what sex needs to look like, conditioning what marriage is to look like. And even myself, conditioning what a businessman should even talk about. Because look, having this podcast, Got Money and Sex, as a businessman, it may seem crazy because why are you talking about Got Money and Sex? If I'm a businessman, I should be talking about marketing. We should be talking about sales. But at the same time, we are evolving. And as men, we need to know that as we evolve, we have to have deeper conversations. We have to have a different point of view and understand that everything is interconnected. Your marriage connected with your business connected with your sex life connected to the way that you connect with others and life. So everything is connected into one. And that's what's important for us to have this conversation, so you can understand that you're now just one-dimensional. You have multiple parts of you.
Yes.
And that's what makes marriage a beautiful journey, because it forces you to look deep inside yourself and ask, why is this woman loving me? And why do I love this woman? Who do I need to become so I could continue to engage in a passionate relationship? And that's the question that I ask every morning. And I who do I need to become to be the husband, to be the leader, to be the father that creates a legacy? Yeah. So then I start putting that out there and understanding that I'm evolving and I'm not there yet, but I'm on my way. I'm in the journey. I'm in the car with you. So even though you drive me crazy and you might want to get off the car sometimes, we still bring each other back.
Oh yeah, I don't hear you. It's okay. I forgive you. But yeah, a lot of the times it is that, Raul, and mostly like it comes down to growth. It's like, how could you grow individually? How could you grow together as a couple? And I think a lot of the times we forget that. And because it's a lot of work. And I think then it becomes like this thing like, okay, well, marriage is not for me because I'm not willing to put in all this work. But like I tell people all the time when we talk, it's like, if you knew that marriage, if you were going to have this amazing marriage, because right now, like I am so happy and so fulfilled in my marriage, not because it just happened that way, because it fell in my lap. No, it's because I decided to make something different, to do something different with myself, with the
You work
things
your
that we're
ass off
doing.
every day to do it.
Yeah, and it's
You
and
work on
it's
yourself every single day. I
and
mean,
it's growth, and it's growth between myself to choosing to grow, and growth between us, and I think like if you don't have that in the back of your mind in the marriage, like how are we growing, then that's part of like this you're failing to ask those
and
questions.
that's, I think that's where it is. In order for us to recap, to kind of get everything connected, is like marriage is not for everyone, just like business is not for everyone, just like success is not for everyone, just like
Yeah.
college is not for everyone. You have to find out what works for you, what makes you happy. Don't
Yes.
get caught up in a box of what marriage is. Start looking at what commitment is. Are you committed to your happiness? Are you committed to another person? Do you love that person enough that you actually want to evolve?
Yeah.
If you're waiting for your partner to fulfill you, then that means that you're not complete. And if you're not complete, of course, there's a chance to fail. There's a chance the other person may not live up to your expectations.
Yeah.
But if you feel that you're complete, if you feel that if you're working on yourself, then you could bring somebody that's working themselves. And then in between both of you, you get in the car and you have this journey. And then you make a commitment that as long as you're on the same page, you're going to continue this journey. But don't stay in the car just because of the convenience
Yes.
of being in the car.
Or I would say just have that honest conversation, because I know a lot of the times, like right now, especially people are in marriages and they need that support system. So like count as your husband, like ask them, your husband or your wife, is like, could they be your support system? Could they help you out in the growth that you want to continue to do? Like once you realize like what is it that you need in your life, like you ask that person, because I think it's the best feeling to have someone next to you, like when you come home at night or when you're feeling down, like to have that person that's like that lifts you up once in a while, that because you need it. I mean, and that's really like in our marriage, that's what like you've been for me. Like the times that I really needed you, I have to be vulnerable enough to tell you, it's like, I feel like shit, like can you help me through this, like I don't know how to handle it, and without judging me or telling me exactly what to do, because that's not what we like to hear. You've been my support system. You've just been there
It's
for me.
understanding each other. And that's, one of the things that happened this week, for example, is, the tax season, is corporate tax. We have to submit all the tax papers, and Vivian knows
On
that
the last day?
we're doing all this financial planning with my attorney, with my accountant, and it's the last minute. And Vivian gives me the space because she knows that I'm focused. She knows that I'm in I'm in the process. So we understand each other. And I know that I don't have to say anything to you. I didn't have to say, like, please, you understood that you backed away and you didn't give me shit for doing certain things.
Oh God, I was like, oh, I know this is, I was dreading this day, October 15th, but I knew it was coming. And I, like as much as like you said, like that day I saw your energy was like all over the place, handling like 20 different things on the same day. But I didn't take it personal because it's like, it's not about
understanding.
me.
And that's what the whole thing is. If you understand your partner, if your partner understands you, they're both of you in the same fucking car. As long as you're both committed to being in the car, and then your partner understands and you communicate and you understand each other, then you have a chance to stay in the car.
And eventually you could get upgrades on the car.
Eventually it gets better. Eventually you get faster. Eventually, you could hook up the car and it could become a better ride.
And eventually the car's going to drive itself and you will have no more fights of like, which way do I turn?
I don't know. I don't think we're there yet because I'm still driving the car.
That's my desire.
I don't think that this marriage is going to be an autopilot.
That's my desire. Like
but
in the future, my car will drive itself.
At least we'll know that we're in the car together. At least we'll know that we're trusting that we're both on the same page for the destination. So that's a long answer for that one question. But I hope that you guys get a lot of value from that conversation, because we don't want to make you feel that marriage is the only way or commitment is the only way. You have to work on yourself.
Yes.
Marriage could be beautiful. Marriage is not for everyone. Just commit to growth, commit to your own happiness, commit to finding somebody that you could grow with. And it doesn't have to be right now. A lot of people have a lot of pressure of finding that person. Like, fuck, right now, there's so much opportunity in everywhere. Like if you work on yourself as a woman, as a man, you will attract that partner that wants to get in the car with you. Yeah. So don't be pressure of finding a man or finding a woman. Work on you. Like I tell my guys who are single, it's like, you become a king, there's going to be a lot of women looking for kings. Same thing with women. You become a queen, there's a lot of men that are looking for queens.
Yes,
don't sell yourself
them.
short.
Yes.
Focus on you. Focus on you becoming a better person, and don't wait for somebody else to complete you.
I love that. That's so true.
So let's go for the last. So we're gonna wrap it up. You have another question, or want me to ask you my question that I had?
That was a question I have. And the only other thing I would say about, is marriage for everyone or not? And I would just say, like, marriage takes a little bit of sacrifice. And I think if you're not willing to sacrifice certain things here and there, then marriage is not really for you. Because, even like God sacrificed his son because he loved us so much that he gave his only son for us. And it's the same thing with, like, when you're in a marriage, it's like there's parts of you that sometimes you need to sacrifice for love. And only you know how much, and only you know what parts, but there is a sense of sacrifice that needs to be involved in a marriage. And I think a lot of the times now we don't do that. And that's one of the reasons why, we're failing at that, is because we just think of ourselves. And when we start to look at the other and what can I do for you, and how can I love you, and how can I better serve you, then everything will start to shift.
Well, that's a sacrifice, and everything comes with a price.
Yeah.
You want a great business, you have to pay a price. You want a
Long
great marriage,
hours
you have to pay
and
a price.
money, yeah.
You want to have a fit body, you have to pay a price. Nothing
Yes.
comes without paying a price.
Yeah.
So if nothing else that you get out of this podcast episode or this video is you understand that nothing worth having is going to come
ever
easy.
easy, yes.
Everything has a price.
Yes.
Everything requires sacrifice. Everything requires discipline. Everything requires commitment. So if you're not willing to commit, to sacrifice, and pay the price, then anything that you start is always going to be half-assed.
Yeah.
So with that said, thank you for following us. Thank you for being with us and following us in this journey. And we're committed. We're committed to be in this car. We're committed to continue to bring you value every single week. We're committed to share our stories, our insights, and all the shit that we go through during the week. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for, to give you the insights of God, money, and sex so you could go to the next level in your life.
That's right.
Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, follow us everywhere except for our bedroom. That's where we keep it private. Until next time. Learn it,
Live it, experience it. Love life.